custom-made pickets designed to replicate those from old photographs of the building and the remnants found during excavation, hung freshly primed and drying on a length of wire. He knew his eldest brother, Ryder, in his role as head contractor, had the rails and pickets scheduled for install. He knew because Owen, the middle of the three Montgomery brothers, plagued them all over schedules, calendars, projections, and ledgers, and kept Beckett informed of every nail hammered, whether he wanted to be or not. In this case, he supposed as he dug out his key, he wanted to be. Usually. The old hotel had become a family obsession. It had him by the throat, he admitted as he opened the unfinished and temporary door to what would be the lobby, and by the heart. And hell, it had him by the balls. No other project they'd ever worked on had ever gotten its hooks in him, in all of them like this. He suspected none ever would again. He hit the switch, and the work light dangling from the ceiling flashed on to illuminate bare concrete floors, roughed-in walls, tools, tarps, material. It smelled of wood and concrete dust and, faintly, of the grilled onions someone must have ordered for lunch. He'd do a more thorough inspection of the first and second floors in the morning when he had better light. Stupid to have come over at this hour anyway, when he couldn't really see crap and was dog-tired. But he couldn't resist it. By the balls, he thought again, passing under a wide archway, its edges of stone still rough and exposed. Then, flipping on his flashlight, he headed toward the front and the work steps that led up. There was something about the place in the middle of the night when the noise of nail guns, saws, radios, and voices ended, and the shadows took over. Something not altogether quiet, not altogether still, something that brushed fingers over the back of his neck. Something else he couldn't resist. He swept his light around the second floor, noted the brown bag backing on the walls. As always, Owen's report had been accurate. Rye and his crew had the insulation completed on this level. Though he'd intended to go straight up, he roamed here with a grin spreading over his sharply boned face, the pleasure of it lighting eyes the color of blue shadows. "Coming along," he said into the silence in a voice gravelly from lack of sleep. He moved through the dark, following his beam of light. A tall man with narrow hips, the long Montgomery legs, and the waving mass of brown hair with hints of chestnut that came down from the Riley, his maternal side. He had to remind himself that if he kept poking around, he'd have to get up before he got to bed, so he climbed up to the third floor. "Now that's what I'm talking about." Pure delight scattered thoughts of sleep as he traced a finger down the taped seam of freshly hung drywall. He played his light over the holes cut out for electric, moved into what would be the innkeeper's apartment, and noted the same for plumbing in the kitchen and bath. He spent more time wandering through what would be their most elaborate suite, nodding approval at the floating wall dividing the generous space in the bath. "You're a friggin' genius, Beck. Now for God's sake, go home." But giddy with fatigue and anticipation, he took one more good look before he made his way down the steps. He heard it as he reached the second floor, a kind of humming, and distinctly female. As the sound reached him, so did the scent. Honeysuckle. Sweet and wild and ripe with summer. His belly did a little dance, but he held the flashlight steady as he swept it down the hall into unfinished guest rooms. He shook his head as both sound and scent drifted away. "I know you're here." He spoke clearly, and his voice echoed back to him.